So this piece of paper, these two pieces of paper, is a yoga teacher training agreement. And I passed that out during this module of our training because I didn't have it at the very start. I'm still learning, you're still learning, we are learning together. So I passed these out so that we could all understand what's expected in yoga teacher training, what rules and regulations are there, what are the rules for the makeup policy, graduation requirements, code of conduct, code of ethics, liability waiver, that kind of thing. So this would be something that I would initially pass out once someone signs up, or if they're interested in signing up or paying a deposit, like right when they pay, you would have to sign this. So I do have a sign and dated on it. So so that you understand what is required and what is mandatory and going to work for all of us to get the most of this training. So it's not to put a bunch of rules on you, it's just so that we all understand. Where I think a lot of things are common sense, they're oftentimes not until they're written down and spelled out. So working on some of this stuff is very important for a training like this. So I'm also going to mention a little bit more about Yoga Alliance. Some questions came up about 200 versus 500 hour versus like why we're doing certain things we are in our training, what's required in the teacher training, and that kind of stuff, the regulations around it. So what you will see in this teacher training agreement, and you all have this or I will attach it, is information on tuition. Now, occasionally that's going to change based on the training and when I'm hosting it and all that. Payment plans are available. You'll also see the cancellation and refund policy. So that's all spelled out and understood. Also reasons why I could potentially discontinue your training or have you not attend. Things like showing up under the influence of alcohol, carrying a concealed weapon, stealing, conduct that's unsatisfactory to student, staff, or faculty, excessive absences if you don't pay, that kind of stuff. Things that seems kind of obvious, but I do need to have that written down. Then graduation requirements. So if you're like, yeah, I'm in it. Graduation requirements, you have to attend a certain amount of the in-person training. This cannot be a certification that's done online. It's not allowed according to Yoga Alliance's standards. And because this is a Yoga Alliance accredited school, in order to get the certificate, you have to attend a certain amount of days and hours. We'll go through that in a moment and a little bit more in depth. Completion of homework, quizzes, and final exams. Participation in the final practicum in teaching, which for us is a 20-minute final presentation. And don't worry, you will all do wonderful in that presentation. It can either be teaching for a 20-minute short class, or it can be a presentation on how you're going to use yoga in your career or your life. And the last one is complete the class taking requirements. You are required to take a certain number of classes during this training. For us, I did say it was 2 classes a week, but it's actually, let's do 24 classes total. So it's about 1 per week because we have 2 weeks in between. So I need you to write down in a journal your classes, and it can be in your yoga notes journal, and one student or one trainee is just doing it in a different color. So then when she flips through it, I'm able to see. I don't need to read them. I just need to see that you did it. So in a separate journal, even if it's a 1 sentence or I took this class at this time with this teacher, write all of that down, and so that I can see that you're taking classes. And a lot of that is based on your personal just trust that you're doing it. If you're just going to write a bunch of things down and you didn't actually do it, you're only hurting yourself. So I will believe you when you say you went to those classes. If you didn't, that's on you. So writing down in a class journal. Attendance and makeup policy. So Yoga Alliance, which we'll get to in a moment, is required that you attend all 200 hours of the training. We meet together for about 160 or 170 hours, and the other 30 or so are non-contact hours. So contact hours, we are together in person. Now, I understand that things will come up. Events will arise. You will need to miss for a day or an afternoon. And so you can miss Without making up, you can miss up to 10 hours. If you're in this live training, that means one Sunday or a couple Saturdays, and you'll be completely fine. I'm doing video recaps, you'll get the information. As long as you feel comfortable, you're good. Up to 10 hours, fine. You can also miss an additional 20 hours on top of that, but you'll have to make it up. So 10 hours of our 200 is about 5%. So if you attend 95% of the training, you are good. Beyond that, we want to make up the hours. You can do it in a multitude of ways. I have one makeup weekend available for you where you can make up hour per hour. So if you missed a Saturday, come for a Saturday. Or if you miss 10 hours, right? You miss 10 hours, that's no big deal. You are fine. If you miss 14 hours, you'll use that weekend to make up 4 of the hours. So just come during that weekend when I make myself available to help you with what you missed and what you need to work on. So it's not going to be specifically a trained day where we have topics. It's me being here for you to help you with what you missed and what you need or what you have concerns with. So that's the makeup weekend. A lot of trainings don't do that, but I decided, we're going to do that. Option number 2, you can schedule a private session with myself or the assistant teacher. And private sessions, as with anybody, it's the same cost as a regular private session, which would be anywhere between $50 and $150 per hour. So 1 hour, though, of your private session can add up to at a minimum or at most 4 hours. So if you miss 4 hours, you schedule a 1 hour private session, that makes up 4 hours. If you do 2 hours, that's up to 8. So 7 to 8 hours would be a 2 hour session. 3 hours would be 11 to 13 or so. So if you're missing a full weekend, you would need to do, like if you're missing 14, 15, 16 hours and you need to schedule a 3 hour session, that would be either $150 or $300 to make that up. Good? Good. Beyond the 30 total hours you can miss, if you miss more than that, that may be grounds for retaking the entire course at a different date or not passing. So that would be the reason you would not pass the course, or you would be required, or it's up to you really, if you want to take it again at a later date, and you would have to repay for that as well. So make sure that you're able to do something to make up those hours. Option 3, attend an outside workshop with yoga teachers with ERYT status, so those who are at a bit of a higher level. That means an experienced yoga teacher. We'll go through those acronyms in a bit. Review the workshop with kind of like your class journal with like a paragraph of what you learned. A 1 hour workshop equals double, so it'd be 2 hours. A 2 hour workshop equals 4 hours. 3 equals 6. 4 equals up to 8 hours. So attend a separate workshop outside of the training to make up for part of those hours. Option 4, attend in those hours that you missed in an upcoming training. So if you won't get your certification after this course, so you'll get it after you make up those hours in a future training with me. So I will be hosting another one. I don't know the exact dates or times in the spring or summer. So if something happened, like even a special circumstance happens with your health, with someone else's health, and you need to make an arrangement to attend training the next time, we can talk through that and see what is the best option for you. And yes, of course, there are special cases. Illness, accident, death in the family. Let's chat, work something out. It's sort of that's an individual basis, depends on what happened and where you need to be. Oftentimes that would just mean, hey, we can extend your training until the next one, or we'll work with you one-on-one to get you certified. So that's individual basis. Expect between 3 to 4 hours of homework per week. So that means if you're not planning, and also if you're not planning on teaching after graduation, or teaching at all ever, if you know for sure you are not teaching, you can attend this course and not do the homework, and you're just auditing. The cost and the investment in it is the same because you're still taking up a space in the training, you're still attending in person, but you're able to just come and not stress about any of the homework or any of the class writing scripts or anything like that. So you must attend still all the sessions. Actually, you don't have to, but it would be to your best interest to attend all the sessions. If you want certification, you need the sessions, you need to complete the homework, you need to do the final. You have to do what's required. You'll get a certificate at the end. And then let's talk about what is Yoga Alliance. Yoga Alliance is the registry, it is the alliance, the body of individuals that are trying to, doing their best to regulate yoga standards and yoga teaching. As a yoga teacher, you actually don't have to be certified in anything at all to teach yoga. There is no licensing or certification that you need to have in order to go in somewhere and teach a yoga class. Now, it's great to have the other certifications like CPR, AED training, know a little bit about the body and how it works, but you don't need a certification really to teach this stuff. But that said, a lot of places will not hire you as like yoga studios or anything without some sort of certification. You can teach on your own. Please have liability insurance that will cover you, specifically especially if you're not trained. Anyone can get liability insurance. If you're teaching, you don't have to be certified or registered or accredited. You can get insurance. That's the same for if you teach at the YMCA or any kind of gym, you can get insurance. But if you are employed by someone, their insurance will often cover you. So now I'm getting a little tangent in insurance, but just know that liability insurance will cover you as a teacher, whether or not you are certified and credentialized as a yoga teacher, and you don't need to be certified to teach, but I highly recommend it. You can learn so much. Okay, so what is Yoga Alliance? It's an organization, they started in 1999. They kind of set the standards for yoga teachers and trainings. So I am registered with Yoga Alliance, as is my yoga school. My school, Ashley's Yoga School, is accredited with Yoga Alliance, as am myself, and so I'm a lead teacher. I am an ERYT 200. Let's talk about that little acronym. RYT stands for Registered Yoga Teacher. To become a registered yoga teacher, you would have had to graduate from a school, a training that was registered through Yoga Alliance, and that way you can become a registered yoga teacher, saying that you've hit the standards for what they request for their teachers and students, and regulating us as a bunch of teachers. So you can register with them. All you have to do is prove that you have your certificate, you graduated from the school, and then pay them a fee of like $55, and you're registered for a year. There are some benefits with the Yoga Alliance. They offer continuing education. They try to uphold the standards. So if you are RYT, it sort of says, yeah, I'm credentialized. I don't know who really cares about that as far as your students, but maybe if you're looking for yoga studio teaching opportunities, they might look into that. RYT, Registered Yoga Teacher. You can't put RYT behind your name unless you're actually registered with Yoga Alliance. If you don't register with Yoga Alliance, and no, it's not mandatory, so you don't have to, there really isn't a reason to do it right away, and you can do it at any time after your certification. There's no window or anything like that. You wouldn't be RYT, but you would be CYT, Certified Yoga Teacher. And certified yoga teachers don't have to have graduated from a registered school. They just have to have graduated from a certified yoga school, right? So if someone is teaching yoga and you have a certificate that says you're a yoga teacher, you are a certified yoga teacher. The 200 and 500. RYT 200 means that you've completed the 200-hour course, kind of the beginner course to get you started. 500 means you've taken an advanced training, adding 300 additional hours on top of the 200 to create that label of 500 hours. So you can be RYT 200, you've taken a 200-hour school training. You can be RYT 500, where you've taken a 200 and an additional 300 to create that 500. Or you can become ERYT 200 or ERYT 500. E means experienced or expert. You can say what you want. I like the word experienced because I don't feel like an expert. I'm ERYT 200. I do not have a 300-hour advanced training yet. I've got a bunch of little ones out there. I do a ton of training, but nothing that is credentialized as a 300-hour. So I have the 200-hour, but I have at least 2 years of experience and at least 1,000 hours of teaching, which gave me that E. With a 500 hour, you need at least 4 years of teaching and 2,000 hours of experience, with 500 of them coming after your advanced training. So there are ways to go up and up. The highest level of registered yoga teacher would be ERYT 500, which is what you could get to, and that is the person that is able to host the advanced trainings and do a lot more with their yoga teaching, almost like comparing it to a university professor compared to maybe like a high school teacher, or a college professor that has, or an adjunct professor compared to like a PhD professor. So your ERYT 500 would be the PhD professor up here teaching trainers, teaching the best teachers. You've got your RYT 200 is where you start after certification, and you can walk the way up. There is a great map of this on Yoga Alliance, and I will actually share that too, if I remember. Hopefully I remember. There's a great map of this journey of a yoga teacher. And you can always stop wherever you want, and you could do no trainings if you don't want. If you're registered with Yoga Alliance, they do require 30 hours of continuing education hours within 3 years, or every 3 years. So that means going to workshops, reading books, going to trainings that, and you just have to write them down. It's not like they're checking in depth on this. It's yoga teacher ethics. Be honest, practice satya, practice truthfulness with your trainings. And yes, you still want to be a student, even though you're also a teacher. Student first and foremost. The best teachers are students first. Yoga Alliance requires that 200 hours, and this will change. I need to tell you this. This will change. It's going to get harder. 200-hour training right now for the next couple more years, just a couple more years. There are some guidelines and some qualifications. In order to teach, you have to be an ERYT 200. Moving forward, they're going to change that. You have to be ERYT 500. So I'm going to host as many trainings as I can right now to teach those 200 hours until I get that 500. What's required as far as hours for what we need to learn? Number one, half of your hours, 100 of them, you have to be learning techniques, training, and practice. That means it should include the poses, breath, chanting, mantras, meditation, other traditional yoga techniques. They must be mixed between analytical training, guided practicing, techniques themselves. This is going to be substantial in your training. Second one is 25 hours of teaching methodology. This is like communication skills, how you address specific needs in individuals, principles and demonstration, qualities of a teacher, student learning process, business aspects. That's 25 hours. And then we've got, from there, anatomy and physiology, 20 hours. This could include like human physical body anatomy, physiology like bodily systems, organs, the brain, that kind of stuff, energetic anatomy like chakras and nadis and different studies of anatomy and physiology. So and the practice of them with your yoga. Benefits, contraindications, healthy movement patterns, all of that. That's 20 hours. Then 30 hours to yoga philosophy, lifestyle, and ethics for yoga teachers. This can be things like the yamas and the niyamas, yoga sutras, reading your books that involve sort of lifestyle benefits, ethics for yoga teachers, student-teacher relationship, understanding the teaching of yoga as a service and being a service to others. And then the last one is 10 hours of your practicum. That's practice teaching in front of the entire group. So in the course of this time, you will have a combined 10 hours of practice teaching as the lead instructor yourself. So whether that's broken in half into small groups, so you are teaching, you are the lead person. So you need to do that for 10 hours. Does not include assisting, observing, or giving feedback. It's you practice teaching as the lead. Receiving feedback and observing others teaching. All right. And then the remaining hours are sort of elective hours that you can choose. But that's the requirements for our 200-hour training. And that, again, can also be found at yogaalliance.org. I did send an email to most of the people who signed up for this training. You should have received an email to eventually sign up. You can't sign up yet. You can't register yet, but you can sign up with a username and password. I would say, take a peek at that, look into it a little bit farther. Some people are very much against it. Just know that there's some drama with it. And, right now it's the best thing we have as far as a list, a registry of teachers and for standards for our yoga teachings. You will also see in the yoga teacher agreement just like a code of ethics, code of conduct, conduct yourself in a professional manner. You can read through that. And then also just a liability and release, and that is what I have as a signature page. So I would have trainees read, sign, and understand that you've read the agreement and enrollment, you understand and acknowledge all parts of it, you've read and understand tuition, cancellation, refund, and that way there aren't any questions that come in and I don't have to repeat myself to every single person when I can say, look at the yoga teaching agreement, and then we can talk. Okay. Yoga agreement, ethics, awesome. That was a little bit of in-depth on that and some bit about Yoga Alliance. Hope that was helpful, hope that was understandable. Read through it yourself. Your homework for this might be to just look at yogaalliance.org and read through the homepage even and just check out the standards, and you can even search for different schools and different things. Just get familiar with that and read through the ethics agreements, and that's all. So just get familiar with all of this and enjoy. I will see you in the next video.